Welcome back to God is Alive. My name is Serena, and here I speak all about what it truly means to have a personal relationship with God. We have faith every day that we'll wake up tomorrow, so I want to start a fire in your heart to stop chasing the temporary things of this world and to put that same faith in God. So let's learn about God and learn to lean on God, because what's the worst that could happen? Hi, my loves. Welcome back to God is Alive. My name is Serena, and today I'm speaking about in Matthew chapter 8 when Jesus calms the storm. But today we're going to do things a little differently. I'm not going to be reading the NIV version, the King James version, the Eastern Standard version, none of those versions. I'm going to be reading the Generation Z version. And please do not think that I am in any way making fun of the Bible by reading the Gen Z version. In my personal opinion, read whatever version of the Bible gets you to actually read the Bible. If you want to get down to the nitty-gritty real meanings of it, King James Version. If you want to get the gist, NIV, Eastern Standard Version. If you want to have fun with it, you can read the comic book version of the Bible or even the Gen Z version. I think it matters what's in your heart, and in my heart, I'm not trying in any way to make fun of the Bible, but I know that there would be people out there that could, and honestly, they could make fun of any version. So, that being said, Matthew chapter 8 in Gen Z style. So, Jesus and his squad were cruising on this boat, right? They're chilling, they're vibing, probably chatting about the latest miracles and stuff, when suddenly, out of nowhere, this mega storm hits. Waves crashing, wind howling, the whole ordeal. And Jesus? He's knocked out, straight up sleeping like a boss at the back of the boat. Meanwhile, his crew, they're totally freaked out. They're panicking, trying to keep the boat afloat. They're bailing out water and praying for dear life. So they're like, yo, Jesus, wake up. We're all gonna die. They're shook. They're thinking it's game over. But Jesus? He wakes up, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected. He wakes up, he looks around at the chaos, and casually tells the storm to peace out. He's like, chill water, chill waves, wind, take a breather. And just like that, the whole storm goes from a raging storm to zero in a snap. And the crew, they're mind blown. They're staring at Jesus like, whoa, did that just really happen? And they start to realize that there's way more to this guy than meets the eye. He's not just some dude with mad carpentry skills. He's got legit power over nature. After that, Jesus turns to his squad and drops some wisdom on them. He's like, why were you tripping? Where is your faith? And it was a wake-up call for them, reminding them that even in the craziest storms of life, Jesus is the ultimate chill pill. And from then on, they roll with him, knowing he's got their back no matter how wild things get. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but if you ever want to read a Gen Z version of a story in the Bible, if you go on ChatGPT, the app or the website, and you ask it, can you read me this verse or this story in Gen Z from the Bible, it will do it for you. It'll tell you it. So obviously in this context, Jesus and his disciples are on a boat when a massive storm hits, and Jesus is sleeping. The disciples were scared. They were filled with fear. What do they decide to do? They decide to go to Jesus, because it doesn't matter if it seems like Jesus is sleeping. If he's not there, they still decided to go to him. Because the thing about Jesus is he's always awake. He's always watching. It was an unpredictable situation, and none of them felt like they knew what to do. So what did they do? They went to Jesus because they know they needed him. In the NIV version, they go to him saying, Lord, save us, we're going to drown. He wakes up and he replies, you of little faith, why are you so afraid? Then he got up and he rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. In that moment of them being scared for their life, for their safety, Jesus asked them where their faith is. Because Jesus, God God knows that it is faith that combats fear. Let me say that again. Faith is what combats fear. If you're in an unpredictable situation, faith. If you're scared, you need faith. If you're worried, you need faith. If you're questioning if Jesus, if God has come through, if he's real, you need faith. That's the answer. Romans chapter 10, verses 13 through 15 says, "For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in?" Let me simplify this. How can someone call on God and in that same moment not have faith? The Bible says it's impossible. If you go to God, if you call on his name, if you try to pray to him, that's having faith. It might be a tiny mustard seed of faith, but it is faith, and God can work with that. Wait, I want to read the Gen Z version of this. Okay, so it says, anyone who hits up the Lord's hotline is going to get saved. It's like if you're down to call on him, he's always got your back. But here's the deal. How can you call on someone that they don't even believe in? How can they believe if they've never even heard about the dude? That's why it's crucial to spread the word. We gotta be the ones who drop those truth bombs and let everyone know what's up. So lace up your kicks and hit the streets, because it's time to bring that good news to the world. But my focus here is on Romans chapter 10, verse 14. How can someone call on the one they have not believed in? If you're calling on him, you have to believe in him. You have to have a little faith, right? That's why you're doing it. If you didn't have a little faith that maybe he is real, you wouldn't be doing it. And I'm willing to bet at least one point in your life you have done that. That means in that one point in your life, you had a little faith. And just like the disciples, when the storm was coming down, they went to Jesus. They had faith, but it was a little bit of faith. In Jesus' eyes, in God's eyes, it's a little faith. Because we're not using the world's standard of faith. We're using God's standard. And to God, to have a strong faith means to have a strong belief or trust in God. Faith means to have belief and trust in God. And I'm telling you, this faith, any kind of faith, does not come from proof or evidence. I say this in my podcast intro every day. We have faith that we'll wake up tomorrow, but there's no proof of that. There is literally no proof that we will wake up tomorrow. I don't mean to mention something really deep right now, but growing up, there was actually this girl that I went to church with, and she was best friends with my best friend's sister. So I knew her pretty well. One day I get the news she had gone to sleep and never woke up, that there was a problem with her heart. And to this day, my best friend's sister lost her best friend. That hit me so hard. It doesn't help that I knew the girl. It doesn't help that she went to church with us. It doesn't help that her death was so random. Completely normal, smart, beautiful girl went to sleep one night, never woke up. Her name was Stephanie. Stephanie never got to graduate and experience life outside of high school. My point is not to scare you. My point is to show you there's no proof that we'll be here tomorrow. There's no proof that the next summer, the next spring, the next year will come around. There's no proof that your loved ones will come home every time they get in a car and go somewhere. No proof. But you have faith every day when your loved ones get in that car, go off to the grocery store, go to sleep, that they'll come back. You have faith that you will wake up tomorrow. You have faith that the next year will hit and you'll have Christmas and New Year's resolutions and all of this stuff. There's no proof or promise of any of that. Faith inherently exists. Believers, non-believers, religious people, non-religious people, everyone uses faith. But the question becomes, do we put our faith in God? And if we do, how much faith do we put in God? How little faith? If you think you have a lot of faith in God, do you think God thinks you do too? Romans chapter 10, verse 17 says, "Faith in God comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ." Faith in God comes from hearing. It doesn't come from seeing. Something I always like to think about is God, Jesus, an angel could literally come stand in front of someone and tell them, this is the truth, this is the way, blah, 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 blah. And that person, if they don't want to, they're not going to change. They could convince themselves they're hallucinating, that it was just a person, there's no way, blah, 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 blah. You see it time and time again in all the Bible stories. The amount of times God would reveal himself, he would show himself, people don't change. This is proven biblically. In Luke chapter 16, there's a story about the rich man and Lazarus. The gist of the story is there was a rich man who lived in luxury, and there was a beggar named Lazarus who lived outside of the rich man's house on the streets. The beggar Lazarus longed to eat even the scraps of the rich man's food, and when the time came, they both died. The story goes, the beggar were carried to heaven by angels, and the rich man went to Hades and was able to see Lazarus in heaven next to Abraham. So the story goes, the rich man yelled up to heaven, "Please have pity on me. Please just allow me to dip my finger in water and cool my tongue because I am in agony in this fire." But Abraham says, no. In your lifetime, you received your good things in full. Lazarus only received bad things, and now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. No one can cross over. What's done is done. You made your bed, and now you're going to lie in it. You made your choices. You and you alone. Thinking that there was going to be no consequences. Thinking that you were going to get away with it. And so he goes, please, if you can't spare me, can you at least send the beggar to my family? Allow him to warn my family so that they will not come here like I did. And Abraham responds to him, no. Because if your family isn't going to listen to Moses and the prophets, your family will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead to tell them. Jesus told that parable, and if there's one thing about Jesus and God, he doesn't lie. They're incapable of lying because it completely goes against his character, his perfection. It's not about seeing, it's not about proof. Doesn't matter if a dead person rose and told you. Something I've always said is you cannot convince anyone that doesn't want to be convinced. Because it's not about proof. Jesus came to earth, performed miracles, did things that no one else could do, and many people who saw it still didn't believe. So why is that? Why is it that people aren't going to change when they see miracles, when they see dead people, when they see all these things happening? It's because of what is stated in John chapter 3, verse 19. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. In this reference, light is Jesus. Jesus has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of him. People like going against God, because that's what evil is. Every single evil action, doesn't matter how big or small, it's evil because it goes against God's ways. It goes on to say that everyone who does evil, so everyone that goes against God, hates the light, for fear that their deeds will be exposed. Many people want to ignore the fact that our actions have consequences. It may seem like Jesus is sleeping, that God is sleeping. Where is he? But the Bible promises everything will come into the light. Luke chapter 8, verse 17. For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing is concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Every little thing God knows. And so what I got from this is it doesn't matter if it feels like Jesus is sleeping or not. It doesn't matter if it feels like God is not there or not, or if he doesn't hear you or not. It's about faith. When the disciples were on a boat in the middle of a storm, worried, scared, fearful, what did they do? They went to Jesus. It does not matter our circumstances. It matters what we do about it. It doesn't matter if it feels like Jesus is sleeping, if God's not going to hear you. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Your faith matters. And we are not going to be able to grow our faith in God if we don't go to God. It doesn't matter if we have little faith, big faith, medium faith. We're not going to be able to grow that if we're not going to God. Because when we go to God, we knock on that door. You give him the opportunity to come in. See, he's a gentleman, and he needs to be invited in. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open. The Gen Z version says, if you're knocking on doors, trust me, they will swing wide open for you. But it's all about putting yourself out there and making things happen. We have to knock on the door. If we're not knocking on the door, he can't answer the door. We can't trust anyone we don't know. And we're not going to be able to get to know anyone if we're not texting them, making plans to hang out, and knocking on their door. And God is different than people. You can annoy people. You can come off as too clingy, That's why we have to make sure we're not texting them too much, too little. It's so complicated. Not with God. God is so ready for you to come to him. He is so ready to burst open up that door. You know how much he wants to burst open that door, but he's not gonna. You know why? Because it's gonna scare you. He doesn't work like that. He'll open up the door little by little, and I promise you, when we start persistently knocking, hey, yo, open up this door, I know you're in there. And when we go to him with our yearning hearts, you will be amazed. Because this is not just a story. My story, these stories, they're all walking testimonies. This is real, you guys. This is real. It's not about being chosen by God. It's about showing up. It's about knocking on that door. In one of my favorite rap songs by Caleb Gordon, Yesterday Is Gone, he says, it ain't about if you gonna be chosen, it's about if you gonna answer the call. Look at Moses, look at David, look at Saul. God comes through for the people who knock. He cannot work in you, around you, without faith. So it doesn't matter your situation. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're drowning, if you feel like you're on that boat in the middle of a storm and it feels like Jesus is sleeping. I promise you he's not. Just knock. I'm sure when the disciples went to Jesus, waking him up, asking for help, they did not think he was going to turn off the wind in the storm. They probably thought, maybe he'll steer us the right way. Maybe he knows what to do. I doubt they thought he was going to come through like that. And that's how he works. That's how he works in my life, other people's lives. I promise you, when you call on him, he never works the way we expect him to. He always has something up his sleeve because that's God for you. So the more and more we knock, and the more and more he is able to answer the door to our call, the more and more He will amaze us. And before you know it, His glory in your life will be incredibly evident everywhere. In every aspect of your life, you will see how He has worked. You will see point A where you started and point B where you're going, and you'll go, man, I'm no longer in that storm anymore. Or maybe you'll go, man, I'm still in that storm, but I know that it'll all be okay. I know that this storm will blow over. And you'll have that undeniable peace that comes from faith. So the last thing I'm going to say is, I promise you, when you grow your faith, proof will come. He will answer your call in His own way, but it will just be between you and Him. So how much do you want to bet if you persistently knocked on the door, your faith in God will come? Just knock. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's song of the day is Praise by Elevation Worship and Brandon Lake. It's an amazing upbeat song, all about praising Him amidst the storm, amidst the calm. When you're going to bed, when you're waking up, when you're eating, when you're sleeping, just praise. And remember, when you listen to it, don't forget to dance like David did. I'll talk to you again next time. Mwah. So now you know more about me, but I want to get to know you too. So if you want, feel free to head on over to Instagram and message me at Serena Speaks Podcast with questions or just anything. Also, I plan to create a website soon to foster a community here and to provide resources just for you. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Mwah.